In 2007, the richest man in the world paid nothing in federal income tax, not a reduced amount, 0. Jeff Bezos did it again in 2011. Elon Musk's bill in 2018 was also 0. None of them broke a single law. They were using a strategy with a strangely honest name: buy, borrow, die. And by the end of this video, you'll understand it better than most accountants. Here's the puzzle. Between 2014 and 2018, America's 25 richest people grew their fortunes by $401 billion. Over those same years, they paid $13.6 billion in federal income tax. ProPublica, working from leaked IRS records, called that a true tax rate of 3.4%, measured against how much their wealth actually grew. A nurse or a teacher pays a far higher share of a far smaller income. So how is that legal? The answer isn't a secret offshore account. It's hidden in plain sight, in the difference between two words most people treat as the same: income and wealth. Start with the rule that everything hangs on. In most tax systems, you are not taxed when an asset you own goes up in value. You're taxed only when you realize that gain, when you sell. Buy a share for $10. If it climbs to 10 million, you owe nothing year after year as long as you don't sell. On paper, you're richer by millions. To the tax office, nothing has happened. This is why a founder whose company is worth tens of billions can, truthfully, report an income closer to a senior employee's. The wealth is real. The taxable income is not, because they never sell. Which raises an obvious problem. If you never sell, how do you pay for your life? This is the move. Instead of selling, you borrow. You walk into a private bank, pledge your shares as collateral, and they hand you cash, a loan against assets you never had to touch. And here is the part that surprises people. A loan is not income. Nobody is taxed on money they have to pay back. So the billionaire gets spendable cash for the house, the jet, the next investment. And the tax bill on it is 0, because borrowed money simply isn't taxed. This isn't theoretical. Larry Ellison, who co-founded Oracle, has pledged more than $30 billion of his stock as collateral. He takes essentially no salary. Why would he? A salary is taxed the moment it lands. A loan against appreciating stock costs only a modest interest rate, often less than the tax he'd pay to sell. The asset keeps growing in the background, untouched and untaxed, while he lives off the bank's money. You might wonder why a bank loves this. Because it's nearly risk-free for them. They hold billions in stock as collateral, and the borrower is good for it, and it can repeat almost forever. As the assets rise, you can borrow more against them. The loan never has to be paid off in the usual sense. It can roll on, serviced by more borrowing for the rest of your life. Income tax, the thing that takes the biggest bite out of everyone else, is quietly designed around. You haven't sold anything, so as far as the law is concerned, you've earned nothing. Which leaves one loose end. Those gains were never taxed, only deferred. Surely the bill comes due eventually. This is where the strategy earns its dark final word: die. Under current US law, when you pass assets to your heirs, something remarkable happens called a step-up in basis. The cost of the asset is reset for tax purposes and to its value on the day you died. Think about what that does. You bought a share for $10. It's worth $10 million when you die. Your heirs inherit it valued at $10 million. The $9,999,990 of gain that built up over your entire life. For capital gains tax, it simply vanishes. Your heirs can sell the next day and owe almost nothing. The loans get repaid from the estate, and the cycle begins again with the next generation. Buy, borrow, die. The gain is never taxed, not once. The name isn't Wall Street slang. It was coined in the 1990s by Edward McCaffery, a tax law professor, to teach his students. And his point was subtle. This was never an exploit hidden in the fine print. It's the logical result of how the system is actually built. Tax income heavily, tax unrealized gains not at all, and wipe the slate clean at death. Each rule on its own sounds reasonable. Stacked together, they form a near-perfect, perfectly legal machine for compounding wealth across generations without the friction of tax. Now the honest part, because most videos skip it. This isn't free money, and it isn't risk-free. It only works if your assets rise faster than the interest on your loans, and if you have enough wealth that a bank will lend against it. When markets fall, that leverage cuts the other way. Pledged shares can trigger a margin call, forcing the very sale you were trying to avoid at the worst possible moment. The step-up rule is also specific to the United States, and lawmakers have repeatedly tried to end it. So this isn't a button you press tomorrow, it's a window into how the rules quietly favor owners over earners. So what can you actually take from this even without $1 billion? The principle, not the machinery. The system rewards three things: owning assets that appreciate, holding them instead of constantly selling, and letting time compound the gains untaxed. A paycheck is taxed the instant you earn it. A share you hold for 20 years is taxed only if and when you choose. That asymmetry is the real lesson. The wealthy aren't necessarily smarter. They're positioned on the side of the tax code that rewards patience and ownership. The scaled-down, entirely ordinary version is available to almost anyone. Own productive assets, use the tax-advantaged accounts your country offers, and resist the urge to sell good things early. You won't replicate Ellison, but you can stop standing on the wrong side of the same rules. The wealthiest people don't play a different game. They play the same game, from the side that was quietly built to win. Once you see the line between income and wealth, you can't unsee it, and it changes how you read almost everything about money. Next, we'll show you where money itself actually comes from, and why your bank creates it out of nothing every time it makes a loan. Until then, own, hold, and watch the rules. Thank you for watching.